Well, thank you very much indeed for that, and I must say it is a real pleasure and it's a real honor to be over here, and it's also fantastic to see the sun, because we have had nothing of the sun in the UK for the last 12 months. It's actually belted it down with rain, so actually be outside and in the dry, it's a very, very rare privilege for myself, because I've spent about 12 months in the wet. Do you have an expression over here which is called multitasking? Yes. That is very, very well known in the female species and non-existing in the male species, am I right? Yes. Now I'm actually going to ask you to multitask, all of you, to begin with here, and I'm going to ask you to do two things which to me are the two most important things for a coach to have. And what do you think that is? The ability to watch, observe, and the ability to listen. In other words, the ability to use your eye and your ears. And why I want you to do that is that I want you for the next sort of 5-10 minutes to use your ears to listen to me, please. And I want you to use your eyes to watch these guys when they are working away, warming their horses up, with the view of that when they have when I'm finished talking, we will have a look at them and we will discuss a little bit what you think of their riding, how the horses are going, how they are sitting on the horses, and what they are doing with their horses in a constructive way. I don't know if you've seen the program, but these are all horses on the training level. So all young horses, 5-6-year-olds, we will introduce riders and horses to you very shortly. Do you over here separate between riding instructors, trainers and coaches? That's a big debate in the UK. My opinion is that riding instructors, they actually walk around wishing they were God. Trainers think they are God, and coaches are God. So anyone here who doesn't look upon themselves as a coach, then you can go away from now on. But anyway, there are differences, and to me the difference is not what you are, but how you use it. Because to me there are times when you're working with people when you have to be an instructor. You have to instruct people of what to do. You have to take hold of them. You have to say, boom, this is what I want you to do now. Not yesterday, but now. There are times when you train people. You might put together a training program for someone. You let them go away and train on their own for a bit, etc. And then there is the coaching side, which to me is much, much more working on a mental plane with people. And that's why to me it's such good fun to do days like today. When David asked me a while back, last summer I think it was, if I would come over and do this, I did say yes. Then when you come closer to the day, you start regretting that you said yes. And then last night when you go to bed, you definitely regret it, because it is quite awesome to go in front of fellow coaches and do a presentation like this with riders that you haven't met before and horses that you haven't met before. But enough of excuses. Today is all about you, and I want you very much to interact. But feel free to ask questions anytime you like, interrupt, discuss things. I have a little bit of a plan in my own mind, and that plan is to take you through a bit of stages of training of horses and riders. Hopefully show a link between what you do when you're starting out and then gradually building up until you come to the very top end where you're talking about producing good results on the highest level. But if we track to the left or to the right, if we go down a different route because you want to discuss various things, then I'm delighted to do that, and as I said, feel free to interrupt with things. From my own personal point of view, doing days like this is part of my personal development. Because when you do something like this, you get the chance to examine what you are doing yourself as a coach. And you also put to the test your own principles. Because one thing is for sure, what you do today will be old tomorrow. And the British cycling team has been unbelievably successful in winning. I think they won 7 or 8 gold medals in the last Olympic Games, might even have been 9, and they've had a rider winning Tour de France. The guy who's in charge of them, a guy called Dave Brailsford, he always say like this: today's good idea is tomorrow's common practice. So whenever you get a good idea in your coaching and things like that, then you need to develop that into something that you are then doing on a regular basis throughout. And that is, from my point of view, what is good with days like this. Now, the sad news is, I very much doubt that I'm going to teach you anything new here. Because you are already of a very high level by the fact that you are here. The A, B's and C's, the 1, 2's and 3's in riding hasn't really changed much over the last several hundred years. What has changed is the demands of what we ask our horses and riders to do. And that is basically governed by the rule setting and the people who write the dressage tests and the course designers. Because they are the ones that are all the time throwing up new ideas about what we need to do, and then we as coaches need to bring that back and start practicing that at home so you prepare your horses. I very much work on the principle that I want to give all my riders and horses a very good, solid, basic for their riding and where they're coming from. Interesting to listen to other sportsmen. If you listen to a golfer or a tennis player, they might just have won the Open or won the US Open tennis or Wimbledon, and they interview them and they say, what are you doing tomorrow? And they say, oh, well, I'm going back to practice on my basic strokes. And you need to all the time go back to that basics, because that is the base for your success. Then you also in your coaching need to prepare horses and riders for what they are going to do in competitions. Some of you might ask yourself, well, isn't that the same? Well, it isn't always the same, because once you have the basics, then the specialities or the specifics of a competition will come in, and they are there to test these basics. But because we are dealing with another creature, an animal as well, apart from having the basics right, we also need to develop what I term with riders in that they make things happen. So if you are coming into a fence and you've done all the basic things right, and then suddenly the horse spooks or stumbles or tries to run out, that rider is ready to react immediately to make things happen, to get to the other side of the fence in a safe way. So they are a little bit the sort of strands that I'm going from. Any questions so far? You're sitting comfortable? All warm enough? Great. So you have so far have been doing the first bit of my challenge, which was listening, extremely well. Now we are going to look at these riders